Imagine waking up one morning, checking your email, and finding a bill for over $3,000 for a bag you bought months ago, already delivered, already forgotten about. Not a luxury handbag, not some rare collector's item worth tens of thousands. A bag. One that cost the equivalent of about €200 total, shipping included. And now, out of nowhere, 5 months later, FedEx is demanding you pay more than $3,000 in customs fees, or what exactly? That's the question. And honestly, that terrifying uncertainty is almost worse than the number itself. This is a real situation that unfolded publicly online, and it raises some genuinely important legal and consumer protection questions that could affect anyone who ships packages internationally. So let's break down exactly what happened, what the actual risks are, and most importantly, what you can do if you ever find yourself staring down an unexpected customs invoice that makes absolutely no sense. Let's set the scene. Someone living in the United Kingdom purchased what's called an ETA bag. That's a style of bag with a clear window on the front, popular in anime and fandom communities, from a seller in Poland. They had it shipped to an address in Pennsylvania in the United States. The total cost of the entire transaction was €164 for the item itself and €35 for shipping. All in, roughly €199. At the time of this story, that's somewhere in the neighborhood of $210 to $220. The bag arrived, November of the previous year. Done deal, right? The package was delivered, everything seemed fine, life moved on. Then, 5 months later, an email arrives from FedEx, or at least something that looks like FedEx. And the numbers on that email are almost incomprehensible given the context. Customs duty, $3,038, a disbursement fee of $62, a merchandise processing fee of nearly $66. Grand total, $3,165.94 for a bag that cost $200. Now, before we get into the legal side of things, let's acknowledge something. The first instinct for most people, and honestly the right instinct, is to think this is a scam. Phishing emails pretending to be FedEx, UPS, DHL, they are extraordinarily common. They are designed to look official, they create urgency, they throw big, scary numbers at you to make you panic and click something or pay something before you think clearly. But here's where this story gets genuinely strange and more complicated. The person who received this email did something smart. They had a font on their phone that flags irregular or look-alike characters, the kind of subtle substitution that phishing emails often use to make a fake URL look real. The URL checked out, every character was standard. Then they went to the actual FedEx website independently through Google and looked up the tracking number directly. And that's when things got really weird. 2 packages came up under the same tracking number. One of them was the bag, delivered back in November, exactly as expected. The other one showed no detailed information at all, just a status message saying the package was in FedEx's possession, and the date on that second entry matched exactly with the customs invoice. The delivery date on the original package was a few days off from the invoice date, but this second mysterious shipment lined up perfectly. So now you have a situation that doesn't fit neatly into either the obvious scam or legitimate charge category. Something genuinely unusual is happening in the system, and getting any clarity from FedEx directly proved to be a nightmare. Calling the UK number got nowhere. The representative said they couldn't help with this situation. Calling the US number led to a dead end because FedEx's phone system apparently requires a FedEx account number to reach a human being, and this person doesn't have one. They're a one-time individual shipper. DMs were sent to FedEx's support account on social media, more emails were sent, and still no clear resolution. So let's talk about what's actually going on legally and logistically here, because there are several layers to unpack. First, can a customs duty be legitimately charged 5 months after delivery? In short, yes, technically it can. U.S. Customs and Border Protection has the authority to audit and assess duties even after a package has been delivered, particularly if duties were not collected at the time of entry. In some cases, FedEx or another carrier will advance the customs payment on behalf of the shipper or recipient and then invoice for reimbursement later. This is called a disbursement, which is actually one of the line items on this invoice. So the structure of the invoice is not inherently fraudulent just because it's late. However, and this is a massive however, the amount is wildly disproportionate to the value of the goods. U.S. customs duty rates vary significantly depending on the product category, the country of origin, and applicable trade agreements. For most personal use items with a declared value under a certain threshold, the duties should be modest. A customs duty of $3,000 on a $200 bag would imply an effective duty rate of over 1,000%. That is not how tariffs work for personal consumer goods under normal circumstances. Even under recent changes to U.S. trade policy that have raised tariffs significantly, this number does not add up in any straightforward way. There is a concept in U.S. customs law called de minimis, which is a threshold below which goods can enter the country without being subject to formal customs entry or duty. Historically, that threshold was $800. If this bag was shipped as a personal item under that value, it should have entered duty-free or with minimal processing fees only. Now, there have been policy changes affecting how certain goods are treated, and the landscape is shifting. But even accounting for that, this invoice amount is extraordinary for the declared value. The mysterious second package in the tracking system is also a serious red flag worth addressing separately. It's entirely possible that there has been a data or administrative error on FedEx's end, where a different shipment, possibly a commercial one with a very different value and duty liability, has been linked to the same tracking number in their system. If that's the case, then the invoice may have been generated against the wrong account or the wrong recipient entirely. That would make this less of a scam and more of a bureaucratic mistake with massive financial implications. So what should someone actually do in this situation? Let's walk through it step by step. First, do not pay anything yet. You are not obligated to pay an invoice you have not verified and that you believe to be inaccurate. Paying it could actually complicate your ability to dispute it later, as it may be interpreted as acceptance of the charges. Second, document everything. Screenshot the emails, screenshot the FedEx tracking page showing both entries, save the original purchase receipts from Poland, including the declared value, and note every phone call you make, including the date, time, and what was said. This documentation is your foundation for any dispute. Third, file a formal written dispute with FedEx. Phone calls are unreliable. They are not documented. They depend on getting to the right person, and they give you no paper trail. Submit a written dispute through FedEx's official billing dispute process. State clearly that you believe the invoice is erroneous, that the package in question was delivered in November of the prior year, that the declared value was approximately €200, and that the assessed duty amount is not consistent with the goods or their value. Reference the discrepancy with the two tracking entries. Fourth, contact U.S. Customs and Border Protection directly. CBP has an importer inquiry line and can provide information about whether a formal customs entry was actually filed for your shipment and what duties, if any, were assessed by CBP itself. If FedEx generated this invoice without a corresponding CBP assessment, that itself is a significant problem. Fifth, if you are the recipient rather than the sender, understand that under U.S. customs law, import duties are typically the legal responsibility of the importer of record, which may be you as the recipient, or it may be the shipper, depending on how the shipment terms were arranged. Knowing who is technically liable matters if this ever escalates. Sixth, consider reaching out to your country's consumer protection bodies if the dispute goes unresolved. In the UK, citizens have access to several avenues for consumer complaints against international companies. And in the US, there is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, as well as the Better Business Bureau, though neither has direct enforcement authority over customs disputes. Finally, if the amount is not resolved and FedEx or a collections agency attempts to pursue payment for an amount you believe is incorrect, consult a consumer protection attorney. Many offer free initial consultations, and a letter from an attorney can sometimes resolve billing disputes faster than months of phone calls. The broader lesson here is that international shipping is not as simple as dropping something in a box and handing it to a courier. Customs obligations, carrier terms, declared values, and country of origin rules all intersect in ways that can create serious financial exposure if you're not aware of them. Before you ship anything internationally, especially across U.S. borders, understand how the item will be classified, what the duty liability might be, who is responsible for paying it, and get that in writing with your carrier. If this happened to you, if you received an unexpected customs invoice that seems completely out of proportion to what you actually shipped or bought, don't panic and don't pay blindly. Document everything, dispute in writing, and get professional advice if the numbers are significant enough to warrant it. You have more options than a terrifying email wants you to believe. If you found this breakdown helpful, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. New videos covering real legal situations and how to navigate them drop regularly, and you never know when the information might be exactly what you need.